Welcome to Beyond Investments with your host, Seth Leishman of Ostro Financial Consultants. Information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but its accuracy and completeness are not guaranteed. Neither LPL Financial nor the hosts of this show or accept any liability for the use of the information discussed. Consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Ostro Financial Consultants, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. Today's guest, Rick Fisher, is a financial advisor with Ostro Financial Consultants, National Planning member SIPC. And now, Beyond Investments, here's your host, Seth Leishman.
Good morning, and welcome to Beyond Investments right here on News Talk KNCO AM 830. Rick, we're going to have a fun show today, aren't we?
Well, educational at least.
Yes, let's hope so.
I think we'll have fun, but it's really to educate, especially younger members of the audience.
Absolutely.
I think I'll be preaching to the choir for people who are my age, the boomer generation.
Okay, very good.
But it's more your generation and even younger.
And even younger, yes. You need to hear a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. We are going to forego trivia to start like we usually do.
Right.
We do usually do trivia.
If we have time, we'll do it at the end.
Correct. Yes. We feel like this topic, we're going to dive right in and only save trivia if we have enough time.
Yep. So the reason I chose this topic, usually what happens, folks, is that we have our meeting and then I come up with an idea and Seth says, that's a great idea. Go do some research.
And let's go do it.
The reason that this come up is, again, I'm 61 years old. I'm a baby boomer. And when I was growing up, capitalism was not a four-letter word, which seems to be today.
To certain crowds anyways.
And I've just noticed the younger generation are starting to question some of the great benefits of capitalism and are more, I guess, are more accepting of possible socialism.
I would agree with that. Yes, definitely.
And the way socialism has been discussed and implemented, I just thought it was time, we really need to let people know what the difference and why capitalism, in our opinion.
Right.
And I think most people's opinion, once you learn the facts,
that's right,
is by far the better system. No system is perfect.
No system is perfect.
And the reason it's not perfect because those who implement it as humans are broken people.
Exactly. We're all imperfect human beings.
As I've always said, if you took any of these, communism, capitalism, fascism, socialism, Marxism, and you had the perfect person who was the dictator of all, it would be fine.
Of course it would. Yes.
But that's not reality.
I would agree. Yes, obviously.
So I found this on the internet, and it's got, we'll talk about the differences and the similarities between socialism, fascism,
yes,
capitalism, and communism.
Very good.
Okay. So we're going to talk about ownership. So who can own things, who owns things, equality.
Okay.
Prices, taxes.
Yep.
Healthcare, very important.
Very important.
Notable figures are just people who espouse those beliefs.
Right.
And the general philosophy.
Very good. Let's do it.
So we're going to start from the bottom, the general philosophy. So the general philosophy of capitalism is free markets will determine prices and competition will drive improvements.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
So free markets, competition.
Right.
I love it.
If you look at socialism, which, and again, these are in the purest forms, and the ones that you have, they're a kind of a hodgepodge of things.
All of them have always been kind of a hodgepodge.
Is internationalistic with idealized future based on redistribution of wealth to fund and support social programs.
Right.
Okay. And if you go all the way to communism, capitalism has failed.
Right.
Okay, to help working class because it only incentivizes individualism and therefore must be torn apart through force. That might be a little harsh, but and then people bring up fascism and Hitler and the Nazi regime. That was nationalistic agenda, usually centered around one powerful individual with an idealized past that encourages individualism. So it's kind of a blend. So if we look at ownership, so one of the great things in this country, in other Western countries, is the right to own property.
That's right.
Okay. So in capitalism, individuals have the right, not only they can own it, they have the right to it.
Yes.
The right to own property, little to no government ownership of services or production. As we go on, that's getting less and less true in this country.
I would agree with that.
More things are going to the government, and there's inefficiencies at vast.
Inefficiencies is probably the nicest thing you could say about a government-run institution.
And if you look at socialism, ownership, individuals may own property,
right?
Okay, and small businesses. State ownership of essential services, electricity, water, internet.
Right.
So you go to France or England, the BBC, their whole television networks are run by the government. If you ever watch, I know you're a fan of Top Gear, or what's they called? They're always raving about the nanny state.
That's right.
Cameras everywhere. Just the regulations. If you've seen Clarkson's Farm, just the amount of stupid regulations.
Oh, it's insane.
That's the problem with it.
Insane. That is the problem with it.
Moving on to communism. Entire elimination of property rights. So there is no personal property.
Correct.
No individual land ownership, no economic incentives to individually own. That's why their economy is almost starved numerous times because...
Many times.
Yeah.
Bread lines.
Exactly.
All of Russia really struggled.
Yeah.
Right. When you don't have property rights. Property rights are kind of it wasn't a truly completely like 100% unique thing to the American structure. But we took it to a level where that most countries had not seen yet.
Yeah.
And I think we've done pretty darn well with it.
Yeah. So if you look at the Chinese, they've found a way to blend it, but they're still an authoritarian state.
Still very authoritarian.
So moving on to equality. Everyone wants okay. So in capitalism, freedom of movement and a free economy gives people equal opportunity to pursue life.
Yes.
Okay. So access to an opportunity, not outcome.
And that's a great way to put it. I've also heard it said, we all get it's equal access to the starting line. We're not all equal at the finish line, though.
Right. And well, you could also make that those born in households that are economically strong and have privilege, there is some of that. You can't change that, but the others have it. They just have to work harder for it.
That's right.
But usually it only has to be one generation has to do it.
Still have access to it.
Anyway, so again, freedom of movement. So if we decided to go move halfway across the country, we can. We don't have to get any special permits.
Right.
You know, things of that nature.
No one controls where you live, how you live.
Where in socialism, redistribution of income to create equal classes, total freedom of religion. So there they have high taxes to redistribute the wealth.
That's right.
Rather than
and a government entity is deciding where it goes and who it goes to.
Exactly. And if you move to communism, we've got all are equal under the eyes of the government except the ruling class. So the problem with all of these is that there always is going to be the elites or the ruling class, those who get to the top, and they're going to hold. Yeah. That's just the way it's going to work.
Yeah, there's always an elitist class. I know people who are very not pleased with capitalism,
right?
Because they think that, oh my goodness, we just what other system has ever created billionaires and so much poverty and yet such a gap between both ends of it. And I just argue there will always be elitist groups no matter what government structure you have.
And I've said many times, and this will back it up, is that the problem with capitalism are capitalists. Meaning that as human people, we are broken people. A lot of times, good people can, as they get more power, as the saying goes, power corrupts.
Yep.
Okay. But the problem with socialism is socialism. That the system itself is so flawed that it does not come to deliver the promises that it makes.
Absolutely.
So looking at the next thing, prices. We're in an inflationary time right now. So prices are set by consumer, corporation, through supply and demand. So again, inflation happens when there's too many dollars chasing too few goods.
That's right.
Okay. But that usually will come to equilibrium because people will see, oh, there's a shortage in this. I'm going to create more of that so I can get some of that money.
Absolutely.
Competition brings it with lower prices and better products. That's generally when the United States has more patents than any other country has ever had. It's not even close.
It's not even close.
And so many of our goods are shipped around the world because people want them.
Yeah. Our innovation, the innovation that's happened in the United States of America under a capitalist structure in the last 200 years cannot be matched by any country over 1,000-year period nearly.
Exactly. So if we look at prices in socialism, redistribution of wealth through government oversight, price control on stable goods, while much of the economy, it runs unfettered.
Yeah.
So a lot of times if the government thinks, you know what, we're going to make more of this and we're going to make it more expensive to make that, rather than letting the market determine.
That's right. Letting the people decide what they want.
Here's another one, taxes. And this is another one that's kind of different. Limited taxes to match limited government and capitalism. That would be the ideal. Right now we have big government with big taxes.
Big taxes, exactly. It's going to ebb and flow.
So our tax structures is getting closer to the socialist model, which it says high taxes focus on social services and or welfare state.
Right. Right.
What was happening in France? They were going to push back the pensions, and they had riots in the streets.
Oh, riots in the streets about it. Riots in the streets about it. And look at where we're at today, right? I mean, so a huge percentage, more than 40% of the federal budget is for Medicare and Social Security.
Right. Exactly. Healthcare, another hot topic. In the United States, determined by market, little or no government regulation. Wherein socialism, free and accessible to all, operated by the federal government. Okay, so
we're somewhere in between right now. I would almost argue we're somewhere in between. It's not really limited or minimal regulation, certainly in the United States of America.
No, but there's also a lack of competition because they can't offer programs to other states.
That's correct.
So yes, you're right. Healthcare is one of those touchy things because we all need it.
Yes,
we all want it to be affordable.
Right.
And so when you used to see it that it's free for everyone, that looks appealing. But unfortunately, there's usually a catch to it. It's probably not very good. There's a lot of regulations.
Yeah.
There's shortages, which England has talked about.
Oh, I mean, we've talked about this for decades, where people with the means in other countries come to the United States for different types of medical coverage.
Or they find a way at the front of the line.
Or they stay where they're at, but they find the way to the front.
And our system is not perfect. It's very expensive, probably overly expensive.
Which is
if you increase competition, that would be the first thing I would do rather than regulating it. And
well, I don't know any. I know very few people that would attempt to take the stance that since 2010, 13-year experiment now, that's a pretty significant amount of time.
Yes.
That's not a year or two.
Right.
13 years into Affordable Care Act, I don't know anybody that believes or would make the argument today that healthcare is currently affordable, because it's only gotten more and more expensive. Double-digit inflation numbers, in fact, actually. It was, and that's not to say that it was way better before.
Right.
It just hasn't. It made zero improvement.
Right.
We are no more affordable, and also the number of people covered by an insurance of some kind has not gone up enough to really move the needle either. There are still tens and tens of millions of Americans who don't have health insurance, and yet it was sold to us in 2010, called the Affordable Care Act, as if it was going to now cover every single person because it's going to be so affordable. It was going to be so affordable. So government kind of interceded in a significant way in healthcare in our country, and it hasn't worked. It didn't help the system at all. And so I don't know. I have a real hard time believing in somebody who now then also says, well, it didn't really work because it didn't work as well as it could because, the government is not controlling the delivery of healthcare. And that one is the one that scares me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, general philosophy, and then I'm going to make a comment about capitalism and what. So in capitalism, the free market will determine prices, and competition will drive improvements, and generally that does work.
Yeah.
And in socialism, internationalistic with future idealized based on redistribution of wealth to fund and support social programs. So the free market. So a lot of critics will say, well, if you look at American history, when you get monopolies and when businesses get too big, they don't treat their workers well. And in the beginning, that is not addressed in Adam Smith's work. Basically,
Correct.
You try to drive down costs as much as possible and maximize profits. Okay?
Right. Correct.
What capitalism does not address is the morality of that. That is a separate issue.
That is a separate issue.
And if you look at any of the legitimate faith traditions, all of them will say that humans have rights. They need to be treated equitably.
Yeah.
And so maybe let's say in order for me to maximize my profits, I can get illegal labor, I can intimidate people, and I can pay them hardly nothing and get that.
Yep.
Well, morally, that would be, you can't do that.
Right. Yes.
All right. So the market generally will say, if I need 10 workers, I have to pay as much as it costs to get those 10 workers.
That's right.
And then if I am successful, then I probably maybe not have a moral obligation, but I'll do some profit sharing. I want to retain these people. I want to treat them with dignity.
That's right.
The capitalist system allows you to do that, but you have to do it.
But you have to do it. Yes. And
it will let you get away with not doing it.
And there are those that won't do that.
Exactly. And so again, that's why it's a capitalist the system works, but when you have capitalists who don't have the moral standing that they should,
yes,
that's where you get the problems.
That's where you get the problem. Where
in socialism, that's just the government has the power to try to redistribute.
Yes.
The problem there is when it's inefficient.
Very inefficient.
And as I say, if the powerful are making all the choices, they're generally going to, again, if you're not going to have the lack of morals is still there.
Still there.
But now you've just given them more power.
That's right.
So in this, in this country, if I upset with a company, I can sue them.
Yes. I cannot.
If I'm in another country, I can't sue the government.
That's right. No.
Even in this country, good luck suing the government.
Good luck trying to sue them. Yes, correct.
So
yes.
to have businesses be more culpable is one thing. I mean, we see class action suits all the time. I mean,
of course, yes, all the time.
So and again, as much as I am not a fan of a lot of lawyers, I think the legal system is there for a reason, and when it's used properly,
it's there to protect people. Yeah, and it works.
Is there to protect. So for those young kids out there who would like to see more socialism, you need to learn more about it.
Yes,
our capitalist system, as flawed as it is, is by far the best, and that's why the United States is in the economic. Even though we're not at the peak of where we've been, we're struggling compared to everybody else. We are still the best house in a declining neighborhood.
That's right. Absolutely, I would agree with that 100%, without any doubt.
And fascism and communism, they're just extremes of socialism. And
correct.
European socialism is almost socialism light because they do have some capitalistic features.
Correct.
And just as I was saying before, China has found a way. We always thought that the communism, sort of like Russia, it collapsed economically and had to get more democratic.
Oh yeah,
that would happen to China. They've found a way to kind of thread the needle. The
key is they took communism and then they adopted chunks of capitalism,
right,
to stave off the decline and the complete annihilation of their communist programs. So they had to adapt instead of necessarily letting it go to a collapse and then adapting. You're right. China's done this like quasi communism thing mixed in with some capitalist type of ideas and structures, and that's they've been able to make that work for a while now. Why don't we take a quick break? And let's come back and talk more. You're listening to Beyond Investments right here on News Talk, AM 830.
Today's guest, Rick Fisher, is a financial advisor with Austro Financial Consultants, National Planning Member SIPC.
Welcome back to Beyond Investments here on News Talk KNCO, AM 830. Rick, we're talking socialism, capitalism, various government economic models. And I think you and I, as we left off before the break, with the many flaws, capitalism has brought more people out of poverty, and more people have given more opportunity to more people than I think any other program, any other structure of government. I don't think anybody can really argue that.
Yeah, I think
it really has.
One of the reasons that it's not working as well as it has in the past, and if you look at, some people think socialism is the answer. No, it's the moral decline of the world in general.
Yeah,
but specifically here in the United States.
Absolutely.
Organized religion is looked down upon by many. Christianity, Judaism,
having
others.
Having a belief system that has a
moral
code,
component.
A moral code type of component is looked down upon now. It's frowned upon. It's you're right. You've got large parts of our society who are saying it's just everything's fine. Do whatever you want.
Yes.
We don't need to worry about morals or ethics or anything else.
So I say the problems you see with, again, in capitalism are across the board. They happen other places.
Of course.
Corruption, I think, in this country has increased over the years.
Yes.
Where in some socialistic countries, it's the norm.
Right. Big time.
Italy. I mean, many of the South American countries, and it's been that way for a long time.
A long time. You end up with the power. Power and wealth is concentrated at the top, and it's concentrated at the elitist socialism type structure there. So it ends up being, there's a funny meme. There's a capitalist friendly meme going around that I've seen. Right, and it's like, your government employee's house in socialism versus your house under socialism, right? And it's a mansion compared to like a house.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a funny thing to think about.
Anyway, so I think we've kind of explained that, and I want to get on to a lighter subject. We can go backwards, and we'll do some trivia.
Yes. What do you have for us today?
Okay, so this is as of May 24th.
Yes.
So 1985, Quantum Computer Services is incorporated in Delaware.
Oh.
In 1991, it changes its name to...
Qualcomm? No,
that's a good guess though. America Online.
Okay.
You remember America Online?
Of course.
You were in grade school or something.
I was in grade school. I was probably 7th grade. That was probably 7th, 8th grade, and the CD would show up, and you have the whole dial tone thing, right?
Oh yeah.
From that movie, You've Got Mail. Of course, that America Online made that movie famous.
So here's I'm going to give an example. So back in 1985, when this came out,
yes.
Let's say it was the U.S. government that developed it,
right?
We'd still be using it.
We would still be using it,
and it probably wouldn't have got much better.
Nope, no.
And now it's gone away because other companies came out with built a better mousetrap. And in something else with this AI stuff coming in. There are some issues there, but again, there's going to be, you want that competition.
That's right.
Moving on, 1973, the stock exchange in Singapore is founded.
Okay.
1937, let's move on. 1844, the nation's first telegraph line between Baltimore and Washington becomes operational when Samuel Finley Breese Morse, so Sam Morse, portrait painter and co-inventor of the telegraph, transmits this message to the U.S. Senate at 8:45 a.m. What hath God wrought?
Oh, interesting.
What it says, yeah.
Yes.
And let's see, moving on to 1688.
Ooh.
The earliest known book on the stock market, Joseph Penso de la Vega's Confusion of Confusions appears. His anecdotes of the Amsterdam Stock Exchange read like modern Maylocks moments. When speculators talk, they talk shares. When they look at something, it sees shares they see. If they eat, the shares are their food.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's move on to sports.
Yes.
So in 1918, Cleveland starter Stan Kovaleski set a club record for most innings pitched. What do you think that is? So a starting pitcher, how
deep did they go?
Yeah.
It's got to be some big number. 13.
19 innings. In a complete game as the Indians beat the New York Yankees 3-2.
Wow.
1928. A record 12 future Baseball Hall of Famers take the field as the New York Yankees beat the Philadelphia Athletics 9-7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's both managers were in the Hall of Fame, one umpire. I could name about 7 of the players. So in the Yankees, you've got Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth.
Yep.
And on the A's, you have Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, Lefty Grove, and Mickey Cochran.
Wow.
So I couldn't name all of them, but that's a lot. 12.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
12 future Hall of Famers.
And then 1930, legendary slugger Babe Ruth homers in both games of a doubleheader, beating the A's 10-6 and 11-1, gives him 9 home runs for the week.
Wow.
I remember this one, 1984, the Detroit Tigers won a record 17 straight road games.
That's huge.
They started the season like 20-0 or something. I remember that.
Wow.
And then they beat the Padres in the World Series in '84.
Right.
Moving on to music. 1968, the Rolling Stones released the single Jumpin' Jack Flash in the UK. The track gave them their 7th UK number one hit. Again, UK, not USA.
UK, of course.
Then 1962, Elvis Presley was number 1 on the UK singles chart. It's UK because that's the for Good Luck Charm. His 11th UK number 1.
Wow.
So that's it on the trivia front.
Yes. Well, as we kind of, let's take this thing, as we take it full circle here, the best thing we can do and encourage people is to educate yourself.
Yes.
Dig in. There's some great content out there. There's some great information out there. Take it for the grain of salt, oftentimes as the internet is. Right?
Yes.
Wikipedia does not know everything.
No, but I did get this off the internet. This is from some naval museum, the Hampton Roads Naval Museum. Why they're putting a comparison sheet on these styles of government, I don't know, but they put it in very nice format, easy to read.
Very nice.
That's why I chose it.
And that's why we chose it. Well, as always, we want to encourage our listeners out there. If you got any questions, if you want to learn more and catch any part of this these shows, you can go to our website, astrofinancial.com. And as always, if you'd like to learn more about what we do and how we take care of our clients, give us a call at 273-4425. Come experience the difference when we think beyond investments.
Bye, folks.
Information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but its accuracy and completeness are not guaranteed. Neither LPL Financial nor the hosts of this show or accept any liability for the use of the information discussed. Consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Ostro Financial Consultants, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial.